I am of the view that if you're an Origin and if you've taken 2 kicks and you've missed 2, pass it. Yeah. This is a problem I have, is that coaches are lacking the common sense that the average viewer is seeing.
We are garbage.
Yeah.
We cannot score points. Get this guy in.
Yeah.
What's it gonna hurt? Oh, he doesn't do well. No one is.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of League Chat with the Stat. Thank you for joining me for another episode this week, or actually technically this month. But you know what you can do in the next month or so, before the next episode, you can subscribe to the channel Have a Chat Productions, where you can comment, like, share the video as well, and drop your input. We've been really appreciative of the comments you've left so far on our videos, which has been fantastic. So really looking forward to that. And I know what you're thinking. I'm wearing a jersey that's a little bit bloody. It's not because I got into a fight or I got into a mad footy game. We're wearing some really cool stuff. Different bits of memorabilia that we've gotten, that we've added to the show, so you can probably see once the camera pans out. But my guest has brought in some really cool stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Jeremy Dean.
All right, sir? Let me tell you, how long have I been asking you to be on this show?
Years.
Quite since Nathaniel started this podcast.
I think it was, what, 5-6 years?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, about that.
Let me tell you, I've never been happier than when I saw your message going, hey, come and do League Chat with me.
Mate, that's an honour.
I was very excited.
And I was very excited because you came a little prepared with notes. So this is unbelievable stuff. Yes. I got to say, I didn't see that coming, but it was very good. So thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Mate, I'm good. Let's talk about what we're wearing, because obviously there's some pretty cool stuff. To people, it might just be jerseys, but can you give us into a bit of context as to what we're wearing and why we're wearing it?
So what we have on display, shout out to, I'll say the name, Troy Cassell. He is an ex-NRL player for both the Bulldogs and the Panthers. Yep. And his wife has graciously allowed us to have some of this memorabilia today. For one, I'm wearing a Wigan Warriors jersey from a Wigan Warriors player back in 1993, I believe. This guy, I can't remember his name, but he moved over from Wigan to the Bulldogs, played a season with the Dogs, and on his last game decided to do a jersey swap with Troy. And so, yeah, we have this one here. The jersey you're wearing is a game day jersey from Troy Cassell when he played for the Bulldogs back in the 90s. And yes, the stains on there are blood stains from when he busted his head open mid-game.
That's crazy.
So there's a bit of memory there. And we have some trophies here. So these are his personal trophies. The one here on the table is his recognition trophy for his contribution to the Penrith Panthers as player number 342. And over here on the little table here is his Household Bulldogs Players Player Award when the Bulldogs beat the Illawarra Dragons 19-12 on the 28th of July 1991. So we have quite a lot of cool memorabilia, and the jersey Ray's holding up is another game day jersey that Troy would have worn when he ran out for the Bulldogs. I believe that's the 1994. Is that the 94 jersey?
I think it is a 94 jersey.
The one that they're remaking. Isn't that the one we
95. 95. 95. They've just remade it, and it is beautiful. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I think I want to buy one.
Yeah, we're going to get one too, 100%.
Shout out to Troy and Diane for allowing us to have this pretty cool merch. And
yeah,
she was pretty excited when I told her I was jumping on a podcast. She said, hey, send me the link. I want to subscribe. So you should have a new subscriber to your Have a Chat channel.
How good is that?
She actually went home on her lunch break to get this stuff. So that we could wear it.
Talk about the commitment, eh?
Shout out.
Talk about the commitment, eh?
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Diane. Much appreciated. I believe the player of the jersey that he swapped with was Gary Connolly.
Yes, that's his name.
Yeah. So he played a bit for Wigan. He played for St. Helens, I believe it was. And then he came to the Dogs. So he came to the Dogs. And then I think he then went to Irish Rugby. And then he played for a team called Munster, which is...
Yeah, I think so.
Quite the name. Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you, Troy. Thank you, Diane. Thank you for the cool stuff. This is pretty cool. And we'll dedicate this episode to you. Yes. But let's get right into it. State of Origin, number 2. Mate.
Nail biter. And I don't have many nails.
Yeah, mate. Next two of us. Mate. 26-24, Queensland get the chocolates over the Blues. Jez, what did you think of the game? What stood out to you the most in that? And what kind of... What did you take from that game? Like from the...
Yeah, there was a few things. Definitely first half, we New South Wales, that is, we were very ill-disciplined. I know there was a lot of things talking about the ref. I think it was an 8-0 penalty count at halftime. Yeah. But to be honest, from a fan's perspective, I wasn't angry at him. Like, looking at the game, we had a shocker of a first half. Our errors, penalties, like, it was our own doing that caused that.
Yeah.
Second half, though, I don't know what happened in the sheds at second half. It's pretty much typical of the Bulldogs, right? Crap first half, come out second half, guns blazing.
Yeah.
Second half was I'd say almost flawless, apart from our goal kicking.
Mm.
I think we would have won 30-26 if we had kicked all of them.
Yeah, we've been 30-26.
So I'm a few questions around the goal kicking there, but other than that, I think first half, Queensland definitely outplayed us. But the second half, things lined up. We were a lot more disciplined in our defense, in our attack, and the points came along with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everyone's been talking about the 8-0 penalty count, like you said, and when you look at it, a lot of the time, automatically when you don't really watch the game or you get a perception of 8-0 penalty count, everyone freaks out.
Yeah.
I know that the game of rugby league isn't meant to be all about the penalty count. Sometimes it's just a matter of what happens in that game. I thought New South Wales, like you said, were very disciplined. I agree with that. Lomax's elbow to the head, and then the eye gouge from Luai. Yeah. Little things like that, you can't really blow up at the ref for.
Stupid things.
Yeah. Very, very dumb, very ill-disciplined. Yeah. And Queensland just rode with it. Like, we were exhausted in defence because we defended pretty much the whole first half. Then we had that unlucky obstruction call go against us with Utoi Kamanu in the first half. So that was a bit of a bum as well because we had finally got into their try line, finally got in a bit of momentum when we hadn't dropped the ball, and then that try got disallowed, and we just dropped our heads there. But like you said, second half, I think calls started to go away in the second half. I do believe Queensland did get a few 50-50 in the first half, but still, we're still ill-disciplined, a couple of high tackles. You can't do that. Yeah. And I really thought our forward pack was really poor. Payne Haas carried us. Yeah. The reality is Payne Haas did well. He's 132 meters, 34 tackles, 16 runs. But then the members that were in the side that didn't really step up, Max King, 8 runs, 57 meters. Yeah, didn't get as much game time as he did the first game.
I don't think he played at all the second half, did he? He started.
Yeah,
he started a lot of the first half, but then I don't remember seeing him until very late in the second half.
Yeah, I don't think he got as much game time as he did the previous game. But then Utoi Kamanu came back into the Origin fold and he didn't really do much either. About similar stats, 8 runs, 60 meters. So we definitely missed Barnett. Yep. That was definitely a big miss there. And then we talk about the goal kicking. The Blues have the luxury of having about 4 or 5 goal kickers in their side.
Yeah, we do.
We have Lomax, we have Cleary, we have Latrell, Critter.
Yeah.
So that's 4.
Yeah.
And I am of the view that if you're an Origin and if you've taken 2 kicks and you've missed 2, pass it on.
Yeah.
It's not like we only had 1 kicker. So, and I know that Cleary did something to his groin on captain's run, which is why he couldn't kick. So that's understandable. And I understand that, I think for the duration of, not just their careers, but I think this year, Lomax has the better percentage in terms of the goal kicking. But if we're on Origin and we've gone for 2 conversions and you've missed, pass the buck.
Yeah. Agreed.
I would have gone to Critter next.
You go Critter over Latrell?
Yeah, I would have gone Critter over Latrell. Interesting. The only reason for that is because I think Critter's a bit more consistent than Latrell.
Okay.
We saw on the weekend Latrell kicked, again, 2 from 5 and Rabbitohs lost by 1.
Yeah.
The most of the time that you get
and
Critter
Lomax kicked 6 from 6.
Yeah, and then Lomax kicked 6 from 6, that's right. And then when you look at Critter, he's kicked, he's missed a couple here and there, but they haven't been anything too ridiculous. He seems to be more consistent than Latrell. Yeah. So I would have shifted the goal kicking straight away. Yeah. But in the second half, Blues got a bit more momentum. But again, ill-disciplined, too many errors. Yeah. And when you have a first half like that, especially in State of Origin, it's hard to come back. It's really, really hard to come back. So
it would have been, wasn't it the biggest comeback? I believe they were saying on.
Yeah, it would have been the biggest comeback. Yeah. So really unfortunate that we couldn't get the job done.
Couldn't get the win.
Only promotes to game 3 in Sydney, which will be unreal.
Yeah.
But look, they have to get the selections right. Like Utoi Kamanu was not good. He has to go.
Yeah.
You bring in Kaloma Matangi. Since he's moved to prop for Rabbitohs, he's been instrumental. You bring Terrell May. He'll play the whole game for you.
Yeah.
He'll do really well. But look, I thought Luai played really well. I thought he was pretty sound. Obviously, a bit more disciplined. Luai, yeah.
Apart from the first kick.
Apart from the first kick and I think second half he started to play the way he would normally play and be that supportive role for Cleary. Because everyone was blowing up at the fact that Burden didn't get that 6 jumper.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think it was smart that Luai went into 6 and Burden stayed 18th man. But look, Blues need to really fix up. Like they can't have that first half again.
So where did the Blues go for their halves for game 3? Cleary's obviously out.
He's not out yet. He's got a fitness test tomorrow.
Yeah.
For the Dogs game this week.
Yeah.
And then what will happen is, should he get through the game, he'll play. It's just he can't goal kick. He's very hampered with his goal kicking at the moment. So if they were to go down the route of having to pick a new 7,
Yeah.
I've heard a few interesting takes. Everyone talks about Isaiah Katoa. You know,
Yep.
he's been unbelievable for the Dolphins this year. He's just been
He's
amazing. Yeah.
And Luke Metcalf, I've heard.
Yeah, they've talked about Metcalf, but the problem I have with those two players is that this is game 3 of the decider.
I think it was Gus.
Yeah.
Gus said it. He goes, he has no doubt he could carry it, but he goes, I just don't think game 3 of the decider is the time to try.
That's right, and I don't think it's the time to try it either. I think I don't hate Gus's suggestion of Adam Reynolds.
I saw that today.
Yeah, I really don't hate that. I think he's an experienced campaigner. He's been in the big games. He can get the job done. I don't think they'll go down that route, but I don't hate that as a potential 7.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't put Burden there. You wouldn't put Luai there
No.
to be the 7. I don't think Luai for Origin to be the 7 is the way to go. So, look, we do have options. Obviously, with Moses being out as well, we do have options. But for 7, I just don't know if throwing Isaiah Katoa is the right thing to do. Throwing in there for a decider or even a Metcalf. I think he copped a groin issue or a calf issue on the weekend as well. So that he'd be hampered by that as well. But Blues have to be better.
Yeah.
We have to turn it around in that game 3. We can't be giving away too many penalties. We can't be dropping the ball as much as we did. And we have to be better in defense.
Yeah.
Much better.
What
Look,
was
I
the
know
error count in that game? There was a lot of errors.
a lot of errors. I don't know off the top of my head if I'm honest with you. But we did make a lot of errors. We dropped a lot of ball, especially like when we were about to score as well. So we need to fix that. Once we get those fixed up, and we improve on our forwards, I think we can really shake up with like Queensland. Like Queensland weren't amazing. They just took advantage of how bad we were.
Yeah.
And they were scoreless for 55 minutes of that game,
Yeah.
or 45 minutes of that game. So they've got their own work to do as well. But look, but you got to give them the chocolates at the end of the day. They did really well. They got the job done. They hung on. And Blues have to be better, and we need to take out the series because we can't lose to Queensland, mate.
No, we
There's no
can't.
way.
No.
There's no way. But look, game 3 in a couple of weeks. I'm excited. It's in Sydney. We'll be in Queensland.
We'll be in Queensland, yeah.
Which is kind of ironic, but it is what it is. But it's all good. Ray, we ask the next topic, sir.
All right, mate. Well, let's start off with coaches.
Yep.
First off, Tommy Trebojevic has been shifted into the centres, and the shift has been labelled as disrespectful amid claims that the Manly star isn't happy with the switch and wasn't properly consulted. This was an act by Seabold to move Lehi Hopewadi into the number 1 jersey. And he's not sure if it's going to be a permanent switch moving forward. Apparently, Tommy hasn't been given any info about this. It just happened. He just found out about it. What do you think of coaches making these switches, especially this one right here with someone that has been so loyal to the club over all those years?
I think the switch is needed.
Yes, but I think as a player, I would want to be consulted. Is that even the word?
Yeah.
I'd want to be spoken to. I'm like, hey, you have a sit down, casual coffee. Hey, let's go. Look, what's going on? We're seeing it. This is what we want to do. Let's talk it out.
They did
I
that.
think from a respectful.
And the thing is, they did that. So to provide a little more context, Manly have their half-yearly review.
Yep.
Now, everyone's saying it was because of the fact that they lost to Gold Coast and Newcastle in successive weeks. But they just had it booked in from the beginning of the season anyway. But the move for Tommy Turbo to the centres is needed, and I believe it's important because what people need to understand is Tommy Turbo isn't playing well. That's the reality is if he was playing well enough, he'd be in Origin.
Yeah.
The reality is he's not playing well.
Yeah.
He's been hampered by a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And there's talk that Manly have actually covered the fact that he copped another hammy injury with a groin complaint because they don't want anyone blowing up at the fact that he did his hammy again. The reason for the switch is because Hopewadi is in form and Turbo's lacking confidence.
Yeah.
They had a discussion. Obviously, Turbo's not happy. He came out, he talked about how unhappy he is about it. And I think that what Turbo needs to understand is that it's not an individual sport.
Yeah.
You know, you got to do what's best for the team. Team comes first always. And I get it. On his day, he's one of the best fullbacks. On his day.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that from him in a while. He's been hampered by so many injuries. But this is a shift where... But you got to understand, Seabold's also under pressure to keep his job. Because you lose back-to-back weeks against two of probably the worst teams in the comp in attack. And even in general. And mainly in the beginning of the season, were considered to be premiership contenders. That raises a lot of alarm bells. So Seabold's under pressure.
Yeah.
The club's under pressure. They've got to make decisions. You know, Jason Saab was dropped on the weekend to Cup during their bye weekend. Him, Croker, to get some game time in them because Seabold's like, something needs to change.
Yeah.
You can't keep doing the same thing over and over expecting a different result.
Yeah.
So in a position like this, I'm all for Turbo moving to centers to get his confidence back. I don't believe it'll be a permanent thing, but you can't ignore what Lehigh Hopewadi's done at fullback as well.
He's been having a killer season.
Yeah, he's been doing really, really well.
What is he? Is he even 20?
I think he would have just turned 20.
Pretty young.
He's very young. Very young. And he's had a killer of a season. But, Ray, at the beginning of that, you mentioned coaches, right?
Yeah.
You talked about how, like we talked about with coaches, like they make big decisions like this. I think people need to sort of follow in the steps that Seabold has followed and apply a bit of common sense. Coaches, I believe, today are lacking common sense. And I'll put it to you like this. And the reason I say that is because when you look at a side like Newcastle, Newcastle have struggled all year in attack. Sorry, Joe. I know you're a big Newey fan. I'm sorry, mate.
I've accepted.
I know. So I'm going to take some dog shots at your club because they're pathetic.
No one hates their coach more than this guy.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's also true. But we talk about common sense. And Joe, I want to get your input on this as well. We talk about common sense in the sense that we, as viewers, when we see a performance go down, we think changes are needed to be had, right?
Yeah.
And like, okay. And obviously, if you look at it one game, okay, maybe give it a bit. But then 2 or 3 weeks in and there's still no changes. We as the viewers go, something needs to change.
Yeah.
We look at Newcastle. Jackson Hastings is only playing his second game this week. He's their best 7 option.
I forgot about him.
Yeah. A lot of people have. But the reason is because O'Brien is so stubborn in his ways that he's named so many different halves combos and moved players out of positions to play in the halves rather than put Hastings there. Joe, when it comes to the Knights, do you believe Hastings is your best 7?
Well, right now, yes. Like, when you see the options that we have, we don't have a lot. And look, on the 10-game run, who was our 7? Hastings.
Yeah.
He did drop in form last year, sure, which is why he got dropped cup. But give him a shot. He's on a lot of money. Why are we wasting him in the reserves? I know we don't want him past this year. We're not re-signing him. Fine. We are garbage.
Yeah.
We cannot score points. Get this guy in.
Yeah.
What's it going to hurt? Oh, he doesn't do well. No one is. Cogger's doing horrible.
Yeah.
Gamble gets hurt every game.
Yeah.
Sharp's good, but he's got no kicking game. He's young. He's a runner.
Sharp's gone for a while now, though.
Yeah, he's out for the year, yeah. That's right, kidney.
Yeah.
Maybe you should help him, Joe.
Classic. But in the sense like that, like we talk about, when players aren't committed to the club and then like you drop them, like we spoke about Galvin in our last podcast. But in this case, when we realise that Hastings is the best option for Newcastle at 7 and they refuse to go down that road, I don't understand why it's so hard to go down the road of picking Hastings at 7. They blame off-field incidents. They blame, the partners of the players did this and that. But at the end of the day, you don't care about that stuff. No. You need to get results on the field. Seabold's trying to get results on the field.
Yeah.
But you look at like a team like Newcastle that need Hastings at 7. You look at a side like the Dragons.
Yeah.
They're not dropping Flanagan. It's a joke.
Yeah.
They've dropped Ilias, and I'm not sitting here saying Ilias is the best 7 of all time. He's not that amazing and flash either. But when you do something consistently and you get the same result, something's got to change, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Since they've dropped Ilias to Cup, it's been 2 months. They've won 8 on the trot. Dragons Junior Cup side have won 8 on the trot. Him and Jonah Glover have won 8 on the trot for the Dragons New South Wales Cup side.
Why don't they bring him into first grade?
And that's where my problem is that this is a problem I have, is that coaches are lacking the common sense that the average viewer is seeing.
Yeah.
Now, there's also nepotism involved because Shane Flanagan is his son Kyle at 7 and he's come out in defending him when we really know he is a problem.
Yeah.
And then you got like the Cowboys, for example, who were going pretty well to start the year. They were doing okay. And then they dropped Clifford to move Purdue to 6. Since that's happened, they won, I think, 2 weeks ago by 6. They almost lost to Tigers at home.
Yeah.
And then they got pumped by the Roosters.
Yeah.
And they got pumped 1 or 2 other times as well. They haven't been playing good footy.
No.
And then up until this week, Payton was refusing to change, saying Clifford's on the outer. We don't think he'll be re-signed next year.
Interesting.
But at the end of the day, he was getting you the results.
Yeah.
So that's the problem I have with coaches nowadays, is that when they make changes, like Seabold's made a change to Jabojevic in the centres to try to get his confidence back because his job is also on the line, there's a bit of a wake-up call there.
Yeah.
But when we see things that should be happening that aren't happening, it's so frustrating. Flanagan should be dropping his son, Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle shouldn't be playing 7. When was the last time he played 7 that was actually decent? Was that the Sharks, wasn't it?
Probably. Roosters, he wasn't anything. Bulldogs, Don't get me started.
Yeah, don't get me started on the Dogs.
Yeah, probably it was back at the Sharks. How many years ago was that?
Yeah, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So my problem, with, maybe 6 years ago. So the problem I have is that coaches lack common sense.
Yeah.
And when they should be playing players that should be in there, they don't. And then when they don't play the players that should be in there, like it makes no sense. So this is the thing I have at the moment. Good on Seabold for actually making a change. Obviously, again, his job's on the line. But good on him for making a change to try change something up in the side because you know something hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And they've lost to the 2 worst teams in the comp this year.
Yeah.
You have to change it up.
Sometimes you have it. Even Shoutout last year with the Bulldogs, right? We're very passionate Bulldog supporters. And we were looking at that halves pairing, Burton and Hutchison. And for the life of us, we could not figure out why every week Hutchison was getting named.
Yeah.
Like, yes, okay, we were winning, but we weren't winning by a lot. We were winning by the skin of our teeth. Hutchison was not playing well. We had Sexton in Cup who was playing well. And then I think it was because Hutchison got injured. Sexton came in and we won. We had a killer back end of that season last year.
Yeah.
And then it's clicked. Okay. And then we do that. Same thing even with our fullback, right? When we had Tracy and what's his name? And Taff, right? I was like, man, Tracy for sure gets the call up over Taff. But no, we kept Taff every week. And then it wasn't until he got injured that Tracy's come in. And now look, Tracy's the starter and has been for the last year and a half now.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay. Yes, when you do make change, when change is needed, you need to make it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's where coaches are lacking nowadays. When they need to make the calls, the right calls.
Yeah. It's almost like they wait for something bad to happen.
Yep.
To then make that change.
And it's like they're putting themselves under pressure for no reason.
Yeah.
What's the point of them putting themselves under this amount of pressure?
Yeah.
For the sake of nepotism or for the sake of stubbornness? It makes no sense.
No.
Because you see the hundreds of comments every week on like you go on like Facebook, for example, and you look at the losing team's post. I've been doing it for the Dragons for the last.
Have you seen that one Leber guy?
Yeah, John Claude
about the Dragons.
It is so funny.
It's hilarious.
It's hilarious, but he's right.
Yeah, it's true.
He's not wrong in what he's saying. In the content that he's bringing out, he's not wrong. He's extremely passionate.
Yes,
Don't get me wrong.
very passionate.
Very passionate.
Did you watch the one he did on Lomax?
Yeah, I watched it.
Where he kicks it and he runs,
Yeah,
he runs down the side. He's
Mate,
like,
the fact
"No
that he
edit."
nailed it. Yeah. And then he starts losing it.
Yeah.
But they're passionate, and they're passionate for a reason because they want to see change.
Yeah.
And when your coach is stubborn and naming the same halves combo for months on end, I get why it's so frustrating. Like you said, we did the same thing with Hutcho and Birdo and the halves, and then we also had the same blow up with Tracy and Taff. Like when coaches need to make the decisions, they don't. And when they don't make decisions, like they need, it just I don't understand. But look, the turbo move, it has to work. Something has to change. It will put Scarrick to the wing. Tommy Tadeu's on the wing this week. Jason Starb goes to the cup again.
Okay.
He's in there. He's signed there for the next 4 years. But it's talking about it talks about the change that need to be made because they need to win games. At the end of the day, your best 17 have to be on the park.
Yep.
And if any member is not, New South Wales Cup's there for a reason.
Yep.
You elevate the talent that are playing well, and you drop the talent that aren't playing well to bring that confidence up. So
100%.
that's what I take on the whole coaching spiel there.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, look, let's get you guys in the coach's box because we've got the Perth Bears coming in 2027.
Sir.
And I'm very excited about this because Rugby League hero Mal Meninga has been appointed the job.
Yep.
He's going to be the inaugural coach of the NRL Perth Bears. And so that's got us all thinking, who's going where? What's our lineup? How's this team actually going to go? Are they going to be a Titans or are they going to be a Dolphins? So, boys, what do you guys think? How would you line up the Perth Bears?
Yeah.
And what would you get started for the 2027 season?
It's a good question.
Very good question.
We've gotten the luxury of getting all of the players in 2026 that are off contract.
Yes. It's quite a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot.
Para has 18. That's a whole squad.
Yeah, there's a whole
Off
squad.
contract. Like
Yeah, it's wild. So we've done it here by
Para has
position
18 off
18
squad.
off contract.
next year.
Wow.
They're rebuilding. They got to. Yeah. Ray enjoys it, but he's also like a diehard Para.
No,
fan. Yeah, so
don't
it's
don't
fine.
put that out there.
Yeah,
That's
it's fine.
disgusting.
But
my
anyway,
favorite time of the week is seeing Ray's post about the Parramatta Eels.
because he supports them. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
No,
No,
100%,
don't tell the internet that. I do not support
Okay,
Para.
no worries. Yeah, you see, you love him.
Yeah.
Just get,
Oh, look,
go on.
about the Bears.
Yeah.
So Meninga's a coach,
Yep.
which I think is a pretty bold move, and they got Ben Gardner, he's the assistant, who's a current Samoa coach. But when you're looking at a team,
Yep.
you want to build a team from scratch.
Yep.
Now we're also not gonna do salary cap and all that rubbish. We don't have time for that, mate.
No, we don't have
We just want to name the best 17, right? So the options at fullback that are off contract 2026. You got Connor Tracy, Ryan Jackson, Jaden Campbell, Tom Trbojevic, Nick Meaney, Taine Tawapiki, Tom Chester, Jordan Samrani. He's more of a winger, centre, and second row. I'm not sure why he's fullback. Jai Gray, Tyrell Sloan. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, they're all good. Tedesco and Heath Mason.
Yep.
Of these, who would you sign at fullback?
I've got 3. I had a little bit of cheating. I went through today because I looked at half the people and I was like, I need to do some homework. So I went through a highlighted few.
Yep.
So I've narrowed that list down to 3.
Okay.
So my 3 that I've got Connor Tracy, I've got Jaden Campbell and Jai Gray.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Hear me out.
Yep.
Connor Tracy, Bulldogs, love him to death, doing fantastic. I love his work ethic, his carries. He's very solid. Right? Jaden Campbell, we got a young guy here. You can mould him into the team. When he's not injured, he can play very good footy like his dad. And one that's maybe a little bit left field, but I love what he's doing at the Rabbitohs is Jai Gray. Yes, his stature's pretty small, but from what he has been doing, I think when Latrell was out and he jumped in there, he did very well. So that'd be my 3 options at fullback.
Yeah, look, I don't hate him. I see a list here. You've got the likes of like Jaden Campbell, like we've mentioned, who has been kind of shifted into the 6 and 7 role.
Yep.
Which I don't really think he's doing amazing there, to be honest.
No, I think he's a natural fullback.
Yeah, like his dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. You got Taine Tawapiki for the Warriors, who I think is a decent fullback, who's got a lot of potential. He'd be someone I'd be locking in for Perth.
Yep.
Obviously you got Tedesco, but I know he's a bit on the older side, but to kind of bring that experienced campaigning in, I don't hate that. I would go with
that's the question from out. Does he go experience or does he go growth within the club?
I think it does both. So if I was to pick, I would look at someone like a Connor Tracy, with like a Tedesco for a year.
Yeah.
Kind of just oversee, like guide him, help him out. Or actually more of a Tedesco and a Jai Gray.
Yeah.
You get Tedesco in there for maybe a year to just build that experience, get combinations right, get it lethal, and then integrate Jai Gray in, and then he can carry out a full career over at fullback. So that's probably where I'd be leaning in terms of fullbacks. You even got like Heath Mason you could do that with as well, young kid from Tigers. You could do it with. That'd probably be my picks of the fullback list that will go to the Bears. Now we've got the wingers. A lot of wingers here on this list. You got Jesse Arthurs. We're going to do ones that we know of that have been playing first grade. So we've got Jesse Arthurs, we've got Marcelo Montoya, Inari Tawala, Sione Katoa, Jesse Ramian, Herbie, Farnworth, Max Fiingai, Jermaine Asako, Khan Pereira, Phil Sammy, Garrick, Coates, Warbrick, Marzu. List goes on and on. There's Ado Carr, there's Matt Fiigay, there's Michele Ravalawa, Daniel Tupou, and Christian Tuipulotu, and Mark Nwangatinawase.
Yeah.
Now, of this list, again, we're doing it by positions. So this would be for the 2 and 5, so both wing spots. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Sione Katoa, who I think would be instrumental on that wing down there at the from the Sharks over to Perth.
Yep.
Get a bit of grunt in there. A Greg Marju would be unstoppable. I think he'd go really, really well down there as well. Tuipulotu would be a hit. Nwangatinawase could be something, to make like solidify a position of his own. Tupou's a bit on the older side, so I'd probably pass on him. Warbrick is another good option. You could go down that road, even Asako.
Yeah.
If I had to pick 2, honestly, off the bat, I'd probably go a Greg Marju, and I would even look at like an Asako.
Okay.
That'd probably be my 2 wingers that I would bring to the Bears.
I had Asako on my list, and I had quite a few.
Yeah.
I think I like Herbie Farnworth, what he's been doing. Asako, I've got him. Ruben Garrick, yes, he's a bit on and off. But I reckon I would probably go Mark Nawaka-Nikawaze, and probably either Farnsworth or Jesse Arthurs. I like what Arthurs is doing at the Broncos.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I'd like to see Farnworth in the centers. I like kind of moving in the center position, so I think he'd be wasted on the wing. But no, I don't hate those options either, to be honest. I think Garrick on the wing isn't also a bad shout either, so that could also work. To the centers, so you've got Savita Tamale, who I think will re-sign with Canberra, Kale Iro, who I'm a massive fan of, Jake Averillo, Brian Kelly, Rocco Berry, RTS, Dane Gagai, Jackson Purdue, who they're trying to infiltrate to be more of like a 6, but he can still play center really well, as we've seen this year. Richard and Will Penasini. I think Penasini may have re-signed, actually. Joel Skelton, Stafford Toa.
Yeah.
Off a list like this, I would look at Farnworth, to go over to the Bears, I'd look at Kyle Oro.
Yep.
Was doing at the
Got him
Sharks.
highlighted.
Incredible. I'd look at Stafford Toa. I think he's been playing really good football for the Tigers this year. Probably of the three, these are the two. Of those three, obviously Farnworth and Iro I'd go, but I wouldn't mind the backup in Toa there as well.
Yeah, I've got Kale Iro and probably RTS.
Yeah, even RTS, not a bad shout. Even Brian Kelly is a pretty underrated shout there as well. Don't hate that list either. We'll go to the halves.
I got one name here.
Metcalf.
Yep.
Yeah. Now it makes sense. You got Metcalf. You also got Josh Rogers from the Broncos. Trey Fuller from the Dolphins, who could also play a bit of fullback. Carter Gordon, who's a rugby union convert.
Okay.
He's at Gold Coast Lions at the moment. Tyson Gamble, wouldn't waste my time. Ronnie Volkman, don't think he's the answer. Jack Cole would be someone I'd also consider. Probably more of like a depth signing for the Bears. But yeah, Metcalf, you'd be going guns blazing for. I'd go Metcalf every day of the week. Yeah, you're about the same, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Only one name highlight there, Luke Metcalf.
Perfect. And then we go to halfback. So we've got Cody Black, Jock Madden, Adam Reynolds, Bailey Hayward, Cody Nikarima, Jerome Hughes, Shino Harris-Tavera, Tanner Boyd, Jack Cogger, Dean Hawkins, Jamie Humphries, Lachlan Ilias, Sandon Smith, and Tyron Wishart.
Yep.
Who do you think he has 7?
Off the bat, I'm going Jerome Hughes.
Yep.
Love what he's doing at Melbourne. Absolute legend of the game. My other two options I had highlighted there was Tyron Wishart.
Yep. Good shout.
His that impact. I think he comes off the bench, doesn't he?
Yeah, for Melbourne.
When he comes off the bench, he's just fantastic. I did put Bailey Hayward in there. I like what he's doing at the Bulldogs.
Yep.
Just I don't know in that halfback position though.
Okay.
But I did have him as an option. But number one for me would be Jerome Hughes, and then I'd have Wishart as number 2.
Yeah, look, I don't hate that shout. I would look at... I'd be the same. I'd be looking at Jerome Hughes. I'd try to go all out for Jerome Hughes and try to get him into the squad for a couple of years, and then he can mentor like a Jamie Humphries, for example, even a Sandon Smith, Tyron Wishart, like you mentioned as well. But yeah, I'd be going guns blazing for Jerome Hughes, 100%.
100%.
And I'd look at Bailey Howard maybe like at a 6 or even a 13, where they're kind of got him playing there at the moment. But yeah, not a bad shout at all. But I would love something like a Jamie Humphries, forge out a big career.
Okay.
At 7, if it wasn't to pan out at the Rabbitohs. Now over to props. There's a fair few on this list. First one on this list, Payne Haas.
Yep.
That's a no-brainer.
First one I highlighted.
First one highlighted. We didn't even need to discuss why.
No.
We go down the list. Pasami Solo from the Raiders. You got Sam Hughes. You've got Braden Hamlin-Ueli.
Yep.
Oren Keeley from the Dolphins, who's been playing some good football. Jamin Jolliffe could be an option. Tui Kamika. Caden Lars, who's Tom Leroy Lars' son, which is a bit of a throwback. He's only played one game, though.
Name in ages.
Yeah. It's his son that's playing. Shows us how old we are. You've got like Matt Eisenuth, who's a bit of a senior head. Sean Kepi, Liam LeBlanc, and then you've got like Blake Laurie, Omri Gula, Jaime Sele options as well. Off the bat, look at this Payne Haas, you'd go absolute guns blazing for. Prop. A Pasami Solo, I don't mind. An Adam Mariota, I don't mind from Canberra either. Maybe a Jamin Jolliffe I'd look at as well. Or a Griffin Neem. I think Griffin Neem sticks out for me of this list as well. Who would you put on your list for?
Payne Haas, definitely.
Yeah.
I like Harry Hayes.
Yeah.
What he's doing at the Bulldogs, solid guy.
Yeah.
So I've got him. Or even Lindsay Smith from Panthers.
Okay, yeah. I missed that. That's a good shout.
Down on the list. So
that's a great shout. I missed that. Yeah, I'd probably
a couple guys there, but Payne Haas 100%.
Yeah.
I'd probably do Payne Haas, maybe Lindsay Smith.
Yeah, that's a great forward combination. Yeah, I like that. Lindsay Smith. I can't believe I missed that name there. Hooker.
The number 9.
Number 9. So there's a lot of positions here, a lot of players here, sorry, that cover this position as well, that are off contract. You got Coruscant, who's obviously been linked already to the Bears. Talon De Silva, Damien Cook. You've got Carl Lawton. You got Freddie Lussick, Reid Marnie, Blake Brayley, Cameron McInnes, who's a lock but can play hooker. Off the list, if I'm looking at this off the bat and what I want to see, I'd look at a Talon De Silva with like a Coruscant as a senior head in that side. Like a Coruscant can go there for a year and a bit, and then mentor someone like a Talon De Silva. I don't hate a Blake Brayley, who's been phenomenal for Cronulla.
Blake Brayley as one of them.
I don't hate that either, but I'd like a younger kid in there, like maybe even a Jake Simpkin from Manly can go in there and shake it up a bit. But a Talon De Silva, he can be there for 10 years.
Yeah,
as a starting 9. I think he's a really good player up on the rise. That's who I'd put in there.
There's
You've
some big
obviously got
names in this hookup.
We've also got Harry Grant in there as well, which somehow I completely skipped over.
Yep.
But yeah, who do you thinking? Who are you thinking?
I'm thinking. I got three. I like Billy Walters, Blake Brayley, or Harry Grant would be my my top.
I don't think you can go
I
wrong
think
with that.
Damien Cook. Hate to say it, I think his time's come.
Yeah, he's a bit on the older side.
He's getting a bit older. Coruscant, I haven't seen much of him. I don't watch many Tigers games, so I can't really comment. But I feel like I think he could be pretty good. But yeah, my go-to would be either Walters, Brayley, or Grant.
Yeah, no, beautiful.
Number 9 position there. So
yeah, no, for sure. Second row, a lot of talent.
Quite a lot of names.
Yeah, a lot of talent on this list. That could even play a bit of prop. The names that stick out to me automatically, Zach Hosking, Josh Cohen, Viliama Kikau.
Yep.
Off the bat, they
Top
stick out to
3,
me. Yeah.
highlighted on my
Highlighted,
list
there you
right
go.
there.
I think Viliama Kikau going as a senior head, because you look at the Dolphins and what they did. They brought in a lot of older heads.
Yeah.
Like Mark Nichols, Felice Kafusi, the Bromwich boys. You need some senior heads in that team for that experience to guide the younger kids to come through. I think Viliama Kikau would be a perfect.
I'd hate to see him leave the Dogs, but
yeah. I'd hate it
in terms
too.
of leadership, though, like you said, getting that senior head, he'd be great.
He's automatic for me. I would think he'd do some amazing stuff there. Bo Firma would be incredible.
Yes,
he'd be incredible. So I would love for him to be a mainstay at a club like the Bears.
Yep.
Another senior head I'd sign, Kurt Capewell.
Yep.
I think he's really underrated. Scott Sorensen, another senior head. You could move like even a Keon Matangi to be that prop. Angus Crichton, I'd be going all guns blazing for as well.
100%.
I'd build the CY Wong even in a lock as well.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of options. You got here Corneli Lemuelu from the Dolphins as well.
He's been playing some good football.
Great football off the bench, really making impact at the Dolphins there. I don't hate any of those players that join that Bears side, to be honest.
No.
Anyone else stick out to you that I haven't really mentioned?
Pretty much all the names you put on there.
Yeah.
Everyone you said. I had no other different ones than what we said.
I think a change of scenery would be good for someone like David Fafita.
I did have David Fafita on there as as kind of a last minute kind of option.
Look, I think on his day he's so dangerous and he's someone that you want in your side. But if you get him in the right mind frame, in the right headspace, under good coaching, I think he could really thrive, and I think he'd be a massive asset there. So that's what I got there. And then at lock, to kind of round it off, you've got Nathan Brown, a personal favourite of mine. You got Jake Trbojevic, Harrison Edwards, Sam McIntyre, Kai O'Donnell, Ryan Madison, Kurt Mann, Dylan Walker, Jack Bird.
I'm going Kurt Mann or Dylan Walker.
Yeah. Don't hate that, yeah.
Very versatile.
Yep.
Can play a few different positions. Yeah, they're my two that I would be going for.
Yeah, no, I don't hate
Brown,
that.
yes. I think though maybe a little bit on the older side.
Yep.
He might be good for a season or two, but yeah, I mean even Kurt Mann, I know the oldest Origin player?
For
game
32
2
years
or
old.
something.
Yeah, 32 years old.
But yeah, I think Nathan Brown, Kurt Mann, or Dylan Walker would be my.
I love those. Yeah, I think you're on the right track there with that. I don't think Jack Bird would offer much, if I'm honest with you.
No.
Dylan Walker, he's an unbelievable talent, especially his move, like when he was at the Warriors and he was playing that ball, playing lock position and being that util.
Yep.
I think he's become a necessity. I think he's done so well for Parramatta since he's come in as well. So I think he'd be an absolute hit over at the Bears. Nathan Brown, Nathan Backfence Brown, I would absolutely get him into my side at lock. I'd love some of him to come and just really round up that forward pack. But there's another name that is kind of off contract every year as part of his contract, Tano Faso Malawi.
Yeah.
Getting someone like him into the side would just him and Payne Haas in the same team is just
that would be mental.
Yeah. But look, that's kind of the team that we build on an unlimited salary cap.
Yep.
That's kind of like a dream
I'd
team.
hate to know the salary cap on that team that we
Yeah.
built.
100%. I think it's already exceeded by 40 million. So we've definitely exceeded on that one. But yeah, I think the boys at the desk, I think that's what we'd be looking at doing for the Bears.
It's going to be interesting, man. It's always exciting to have another NRL team in the game and something over at Perth, which is AFL territory.
Yeah.
Mate, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Did Perth ever be in the NRL? Have they ever?
Yeah, they're back in the day.
Okay.
Back in the day. But now we're trying to go back and take over.
Well, apparently they're not happy about it.
Yeah, they're blowing up the lights.
Yeah, Perth is not happy, mate.
Blowing up the
Really?
lights because the guy that was in charge of Channel 7 now is over like the Seven West Media is now the CEO. believe he's the CEO or the chairman of the Bears now,
Right.
and so there's a lot of dramas from Perth.
Well,
They're not really
apparently
happy about it.
Apparently, he didn't even show up to game 2 of Origin.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
yeah. Like you got the whole media side on like in Perth. Don't report on the NRL coming to Perth. They don't want to borough of it. Yeah, they don't report it. There's big dramas there.
The one thing
Hopefully
I
it
was
goes
thinking
well.
about the other day, imagine back-to-back away games, Perth to New Zealand.
Yeah, no, that's shocking.
Oh,
That's
shocking.
8 hours
Yeah, that's
difference
shocking.
from Perth to Auckland.
Yeah.
Like, that would be disgusting.
Yeah, well, some of the players, like in the last week's game, Penrith vs Warriors, some of the players went from Origin,
Yeah, in
And-
Perth.
yeah, and flew over, but none of them were named.
Yeah.
Because they knew that the travel is just impossible.
Yeah.
Like it was physically not right for the players and for their well-being to do that. But shocking stuff because Penrith dropped all of their Origin players even before the game even took place. And the Warriors didn't name Capel on that side either. So they've already experienced that, and it was shocking as it was. So they weren't going to go down that road.
Yeah, that'd be a hard one.
Mm.
On the road, Perth to
New Zealand,
Auckland.
yeah, disgusting. The scheduling's got to be better.
Yeah, it definitely does need to get better. What also needs to get better is officiating in the game.
Mm.
And one way they're trying to fix this is by offering some new technology. And rugby is the first sport to give it a shot in our world. World Rugby Under-20s Championship is going to be utilizing a smart ball. Apparently, the smart ball technology is going to be used live in South Africa this June. And the areas that the smart ball encompasses are being able to track a forward pass, whether a ball is over the try line, whether the ball has been touched in flight and line, and where touch has been found. What do you boys think of this? I know it's been spoken about for years. I mean, the EPL uses a smart ball for soccer,
Yeah.
checking out offsides. Do you think this is going to be beneficial to our sport? Is it going to cause more drama, just like the bunker does?
I think it's just. I reckon it'll slow the game down.
Yeah.
Way too much. So who makes the call on it? Because in that sense, would it go to the bunker and then the bunker's going to the ref?
Yeah.
That means almost every pass is going to be analysed.
I think
a
it'll be analysed in try scoring situations, or in the lead up to tries.
Yeah.
So, okay, how I feel about it is I like the concept of, when they like the forward pass. I think it's a great concept. I think we need to figure it out because just this year alone, there's been that many tries that have been scored
The forward pass.
that have been off blatant forward passes. It looks like the touch judges are just useless in our game.
Yeah.
So they need to fix it. They need to do something about it. But my only concern, like you mentioned there, Ray, their like first touch. I think first touch is really important for like if we're going to bring it obviously to the NRL. First touch is important because how many times do you see players contest the ball?
Yeah.
And then they have to go to the bunker because they're trying to figure out who touched it first in the video ref situation.
Yeah.
It'll be if they can identify who touched it first or which player.
How are they going to
touched
do
it,
that though?
That's the wild part. That's way above my pay grade. So they got to figure that out if they can get that right.
I'd hate to know the cost on all the technology to have that ball.
Yeah.
I think you say try, and then touch the try line. Like, what,
Yeah.
there'd be sensors on the try line now to detect the ball movement.
Possibly.
I mean, it wouldn't be that different to what the players are wearing in their jerseys anyway.
That's true.
They're wearing the
little
sports bras that
GPS,
GPS
the little
tracks
GPS
them, that
trackers.
tracks all their statistics, how far they've run, everything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think the ball will be that much more expensive. Listen, it's worked in the soccer worldwide constantly. They've used it for for offsides. I think it's necessary. I mean, the fact that our game can't call a forward pass off a try is ridiculous.
I never understood that, why the bunker can't.
They can't run forward passes because it's opinion based.
I don't understand that though. It's not.
Like, yeah, I
If you
don't,
can
I
see
don't
a-
understand.
It's blatant, yeah. But then there are passes that are called forward that aren't forward.
Yeah.
It just becomes on the touches on that day and the refs on that day.
I think like what you said though, and what we is when does that technology come into play? Because if it's every pass,
Nah,
mate, forget it.
it's the NFL.
It'll ruin the whole.
It's NFL.
Yeah, it'll
like-
ruin the whole game.
It'll take 4 hours to get again. So
Yeah.
I think it'll only be mattered in lead up to tries and try scoring
Or maybe in
situations.
a challenge situation, if you get
in a
if there's
challenge situation.
challenge
Yeah,
and then it gets.
I think
it
so.
gets brought up then.
My only concern with it is that
Could you challenge a forward pass then?
possibly, yeah. I think they'd have to look into that.
If the ref
Yeah.
calls a forward pass,
Yeah,
could
you
you
absolutely
challenge
challenge
it? And they're like, nah.
If the
challenge
technology
it.
is available, you challenge it. Yeah,
Interesting.
and so there's a lot of rule changes that have to come from it of what they can contest, like what they can call from it, what they can't call from it. The only thing I have against all this is that we have that much technology in the game now,
Yeah.
and the bunker still gets it wrong. So my concern is that they're gonna, and again, common sense is not prevailing.
Yeah.
My concern is that common sense doesn't prevail again with the introduction of this forward pass technology that is being introduced. That is obviously it's going to happen for rugby, but if they bring it to NRL, my concern is that they don't actually. But if they implement it, it's not consistent. So that's my only concern with it. I think it's a good idea. I think we need to measure on forward passes because it happens. It's so blatant. It happens all the time.
I think the rugby trial will be a clear indicator. My only other concern is, will that affect the flight of the ball? Obviously, with soccer, it's mostly on the ground. But in rugby, the flight of the ball plays a very big part.
Yeah.
Especially goal kicking, even in your normal in-game kicking. Is the technology small enough to not have an impact on the velocity of the ball when it's in the air?
That's a very good point. And I think there has to be a lot of study that goes into it, and the ball tracking that they use.
Yeah.
You know, to implement first touch is crazy.
That,
I want to. I'm keen to watch this rugby game based off the fact to see how they're actually going to utilize this. I don't know if it's going to actually cause much changes to the ball itself.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be like a little chip that gets thrown in and then they pump it up. Like again, that's very limited thinking that I have.
Hotspot and Snicko, bro.
Yeah, it's it, bro.
Hotspot
and Snicko. You know what I mean?
When the hotspot comes
that's it,
up,
mate. You know,
Snicko,
that's
mate,
it.
Can't go wrong.
I don't hate the idea of it, but I don't want it to completely change the game and slow it.
I don't want it
down.
to slow the game down.
Nah. And the game's very fast as it is. We talk about how it needs to be a bit slower for the players and for their welfare, and that there's
Just
that
get
many.
fitter.
Hey,
So just get fitter. Just get fitter.
come from two fattest dogs here, mate. That's That's
Wild
wild.
statements.
Yeah, wild, absolutely wild. But I think it's a good idea.
Athletes. They should have no
it's true.
excuse.
It's true.
To be fair, they get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just be strong. And just play. That's it. Not hard. Yeah. Just be on a diet for 12 years. We're not asking for much. After that, do whatever you want. Nah. I think the technology is smart, but it has to be, like the NRL will have to trial it in games in the back end of a season where the teams aren't fighting for position in the 8.
Or like a trial game, maybe.
Trial games.
Yeah.
Or even like how Rugby Union are doing it for the 20s.
Yep.
So I think they'd have to do it for a Jersey
Wales
Flag
Cup,
game
yeah.
or New South Wales Cup game in a trial, and just to see how it works, if it works well. And even in first grade trial matches, I think it should happen as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the clubs really care about winning 100K in that trial, that preseason trial tournament. I don't think they could care less. I think if you want to try it, you try it in games like that. I think it's a good idea for forward passes, but for everything else, like, it can have a positive impact, but I have to see it pan out in the rugby championships for the under 20s first before I can really determine it. But off the bat, for forward pass, I think it's needed. I think it'll be good.
I think it's just another addition to the bunker, really. I don't think it's going to be its own separate thing. It'll be something that they can look to.
Yeah.
Much like cricket.
Yeah.
You know, they got the Snicko, show me the audio, that sort, like all that sort of stuff. I think it's just an addition.
Yeah, I don't think it should change the game like excessively.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
And like I said, who makes that call? Who makes a call on a blatant forward pass that the refs missed, touches have missed? Is it a thing from the bunker going, hey, you need to call that back?
that could be it.
That's a concern.
But that's the thing.
The callback.
Yeah. How far back do you go?
Yeah.
You have to go back on that play.
Yeah.
But like, if that play leads to a try, you have to review the whole play.
Yeah.
You got to review every pass. But like, I don't think they'll review every single pass and lead up to the try. I think they'll look at the passes that they're concerned with.
It's mostly those 2-on-1.
Yeah.
Those 2-on-1 passes.
Or even the cutouts.
Yeah, all the cutouts. Yeah.
When you see some cutouts in like, it's 6 meters forward, and you're like, and then they just
But
play
it
on
went
their
backwards
forward.
out of the hand.
Yeah.
I hate that excuse.
No, a lot of the time it's true though. A lot of the time it does come backwards out of the hand. So. But look, that's where I think we can end the day on that topic. But guys, thank you so much for joining League Chat with the Stat. Jez, thanks for coming on. Thank you for bringing on the memorabilia.
Thank you for having me.
Much appreciated. And yeah, guys, make sure you tune in to this episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell us your thoughts on the Bears and on our teams, and absolutely ridicule us. We have no problem with that.
And who would be your number one signing?
Yeah, and who'd be your number one signing? Leave that in the comments, and then we can go from there. But Jez, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the episode and take it easy.